rain or a wind here recently. Anyway, that's where I was born, and from there I went to Fairmont, Minnesota, which is now down to 10 or 11,000. It was 13 when I lived there. And I was one of the more interesting kids in the class. Anyway, as time went on, I discovered that I had a tremendous amount of courage and almost no common sense. Begins my story. So as time went on, I was not a very good student, and I decided to quit school in the 10th grade. And the reason I did was not only didn't like school, but I was no damn good at it, and that's not a good combination. So anyway, I took to kind of raising hell and having a good time. With that high courage and no common sense, that's really quite interesting. And the next thing I know, I had to thank Frank and Brad, because they took a golf course trip with Mike Linzo. And I'm sure it was on a Saturday, not a Sunday or a Monday. You guys, I think you got pretty good memories, but not as good as mine. You remember that trip as you went by Minneapolis National, or what was it called? The Mississippi National golf place. Do you remember what Mike Linzo said when you drove by that place?
Look, there's where Brad hit his hole-in-one.
Well, we know that won't work. Now, usually both of you have a pretty good memory, but nowhere near mine. So as they were driving by, heading for Mississippi National, who was the third person? Pardon? Who was the third person with you? There was you and Brad and Mike Linzo and one other.
Maybe Zelmer, probably Zelmer.
Yeah.
Lund?
No,
Probably,
it was
So all
Jeff
seven, three of them.
Zelmer, yeah.
So what do you think when we drove by the what do they call it? I have to see what the name was on that reform school. And so when they drove by, Mike Linzo said, "Who do you think went to school up here?" Jerry Mathwig. You ever been to Red Wing or driven by? It's a couple. The same way I was visited there? No. So anyway, that's when I was in the 10th grade. And I couldn't stand going to school. And I got into a little argument with the professor. And he said, you know, you can't quit school. I said, well, I am quitting school. And he said, you can't. You're on parole. I said, no, I'm not, because wait a minute. And I went up to the second floor and got my books and threw them on his desk and said, goodbye. Now, I had already been to Red Wing for 11 months, by the way. That's that courage and no common sense. 13, by the way. So give me a break, will you? 13 years old. You believe it? You don't look like you're believing me, Brandon.
I'm just listening.
So Frank and Brad, they did get it right, and I have to admire you. In fact, I was going to give you a toast because I don't think you ever ratted on me, by the way, and I admire that dramatically. So, you agree?
Cheers.
Neither one of them said that?
No.
Okay. So that's a toast to the three of us in Ron Perhai. So what else would you like to know about a guy 13 years old in reform school? Surprised? Anybody?
What happened to your dad?
My dad? Well, my dad was mentally ill, schizophrenic, and my parents were separated when I was 4 years old. So I didn't really get to know him too much. But I understand schizophrenia. I think I do finally now. Anyway, it's a hell of a trip from Red Wing to this podium, by the way. Hard to believe for me, unbelievably hard to believe. Look at Brian smiling. What are you thinking, Brian? Well, you can't say it for the group.
No, I didn't know the answer.
I'll make him do it. Make him make his comments. I just wanted to see if you could juggle. Your comments, please? Huh?
I didn't have a question.
No, I don't want questions, I want advice. Not from the wrong guy, I know. Well, how about Kirk? How about him? Anyway, that was quite an ordeal, and I would like to, first of all, thank everybody here for the contribution that you've made to Metro over the years, because it's been one hard, long ride, and almost believable. Great profit sharing, good employee payments, strong in the profit sharing, $66 million. And now finally, the ultimate gift, or I think, is the fact that now your stockholders are soon to be once the end of this year is over. And I can't tell you how good I feel about that. It's, for me, as good a thing as I could ever do. I got a cold, I was hanging around with Bossman. Stop for lunch and maybe have a couple of beers. Anyway, this is going to be a toast for Karushi and Frank for being able to gag themselves for so long. How many years is that, by the way?
Long time. Too long.
What I always admired about Mike Linzo was he would always say something like, "Don't say anything about Jerry unless I can tell Jerry." And I always admired that. And the other thing that I always admired about Mike, because I didn't realize that he had told these guys that I was a Red Wing kid. And by the way, not once, but twice. I finally caught on, by the way. And so Mike Linzo talked about that. He mentioned it to me one day. These guys know that you were a student in Red Wing. And he said, what I liked about it is that you overcame it and got beyond it. And that was a terrific compliment, I think, because it was crazy, not easy. So come on up and I'll give you your toast. If you want to bring a straggler. Lund thinks he could have hung in there with you guys.
I wish I found the other 10 secrets.
No, those are a little sorted.
These are really on hook here.
Yeah,
Wait, two?
here's yours.
Yeah, right here.
Give yourself a little spot.
I used to really
Just a little.
I used to know what to do with this stuff.
Cheers. Cheers.
Thanks for keeping it a secret. I always like to handle Dunlop when he comes. I always like to surprise him. So there it is. And you can spread that real small and thin through Rico. Only the top 5 or whatever.
The person I tell you already told.
So it's a great wind-up history of the company. And the great part of it is to be able to turn it over to the employees. With the ESOP, I think that's really a gift, and makes me feel great, by the way. And of course, what I've been telling everybody else is, I'm expecting a lot more of you now, by the way, because I'm not going anywhere. And I will still be the #1 stockholder, by the way, because you know, the longer you're here, the more stock you get. That's the way it's the only way I'll work with it, by the way. So now we got to figure out what do we do from here, because it's been an incredible performance. Yeah, good pay, good profit sharing, now good stock, and a fun place to work. And most everybody behaves. And believe it or not, I've been able to control myself. And what finally broke it for me was I joined the Army. That's the only thing I could figure out. When I was talking to the principal, he said, "You're down here, you're in trouble again. And you're in a fight." And I said, "I never pick a fight, but I never walk away." And he said, "Well, you've got to stop it, because I'm going to get one of the 10 or 11 year guys in here to kick your butt." And I said, "Well, you don't have anyone that can do it. Besides that, I'm tired and I'm quitting. I don't like school and I'm quitting." And he said, "You can't, you're on parole." And I said, "Well, wait a minute." I went up to the second floor, got my books, threw them on his desk, and I said, "I'll see you, Jack," before. very interesting thing after I've been in the Army, and a number of years ran by. Jack LaFleur was his name. If you'd like to see a picture, I have one from the yearbook. And he was a grump for sure, and not one that was seated well with me. And 10 years after I'd been out of the Army, I found out that he had two children. Both committed suicide. How the hell does that work? I can't imagine what caused that in the family. And as I thought about that, I was thinking about the guy in North Minneapolis. Actually, I have it upstairs. He was, who can remember his name? Anyway, he had 3 daughters and a son. Would you remember Dave Anderson? Would you remember that? Well, we lived in Fridley at the time, and he lived in St. Paul, and he was an attorney. And I have the picture upstairs. I have 2 pictures, actually, that have struck me a lot with my life. And he had 3 beautiful daughters and a son. And for an attorney, he hired someone to kill his wife. If you can imagine that. For $1 million insurance policy. And he got out in 1988 after doing 38 years at Stillwater.
Is that Eugene Thompson?
There you go. Who said that?
Well, it was me.
Wally, Eugene Thompson. And the guy that killed the wife was about 3 blocks away from us because we lived in Fridley at the time. And my mother was just dying, scared about that. But that wasn't the main one. When I lived in Sherwood, Minnesota, as a we had very little money as a family, so our kids were farmed out usually to another friend that lived either on a farm or whatever. So we'd go for a year each time. And there was a kid named Dick Wisdorf that was there, but he was a year older than me. And I had gone to the Army and out. And I was really wondering what happened there, but he came home from school one night, and the school I went to, Sherburne High School, grade school actually, I was in 5th grade at the time. But 2 years later, he came home from work, or from school one night. His mother slapped him in the face because he hadn't done something right. So he went to the closet and got the .22 rifle and shot her in the head. And then her grandmother came out, and she was shot in the head. And then he sat home waiting for his father. And when he came in, he shot him in the head. I have all of that stuff upstairs, by the way. Because when I got in trouble in Fairmont, I stole $9 from a Radio Shack. And I got 11 months for it. This guy killed 3 parents and got initially 90 years. But because he was a 15-year-old when he did it, he was released on 5 years after he'd been in St. Cloud for that long. And I always thought, let's see, 11 months for $10, $9, and 5 years for killing 3. I always thought, and I'd always talk about that. When I met my wife, Karen, I'd just known her for a couple weeks, dropping her off at her parents' house in the driveway. And I thought, I better be careful. She's 7 years younger than me. I don't want to carry a, what do you want to call it, a big ringer around my neck. So I told her, I said, Karen, one of the things we need, if we're going to keep dating, I think I should tell you about this, that I've been in reform school. She didn't know what the hell, what it meant, for starters, but 20-year-old, had been on the soft side of life, so to speak. But at least I felt that I never have to live with that later, telling her later. And so that's the way it was. But isn't that crazy? I've been carrying that all those years. It's hard to believe. I thought, you know what? I finally got over it all. And I kept saying, boy, that doesn't seem fair to me. 11 months in school and 5 years in prison, and he got out. This guy, Dick Wisdorf, went on to be relieved by their psychologist. If you want to read the papers, I have them all. It's hard to believe. The doctor said he did it in a kind of an unusual time frame, probably psyched out or whatever. And I'm hoping that this could benefit everybody, by the way, if you know people that are in trouble, so to speak. Anyway, the doctor let him out after 5 years. And he went on to be a successful husband, woodworker, and he lived to be 74 years old. And he never did another bad thing in his life. Now I thought, interesting comparison. The psychologist was right, Jerry Mathwig has to suck it up. Because I needed what they had, only they didn't have enough. The psychologist needed an army. And but they gave it to me. So it was a great experience. And it's a hell of a true story. If you want to see it all, I've got it all in the books upstairs. Because it's hard to believe what people can do to each other. Hard to believe. So, there we go. That was a story, and I didn't rehearse it. I was trying to. I figured, did you hear all that, Wendy? You'd have never believed it, would you? Anyway, it's been a great life, and I'm glad to have made it this far. And it's great to have had all these people that have been loyal to the company. So let's package that somehow and get something out of it. And maybe you can help other people that could be struggling. Who's the next speaker? Eric, will you up or Dale? Anyway, thanks a million for all you've done. This is going to be recorded.
For years. And Jerry's been an absolutely amazing, amazing partner since 1982. So at this time, I'd like to present an award that we have never presented before. It's my pleasure to present Metro Sales with the first ever RICO Lifetime Achievement Award for Outstanding Partner. Right? A lot of you know Jerry. The recognition is for decades of mutual trust and respect for the RICO Dealer Partnership. Now, although Jerry could not be here tonight, he did prepare some comments that he wanted you to hear. Why don't you listen?
Thank you very much for the award that you're giving Metro Sales. RICO has been a great partner for Metro Sales. Our mutual success has been based on our ability to depend on each other to take care of our customers. Metro Sales continues to be an extremely profitable company. That is mainly because our people have been able to grow and gain the trust of our customers that we and RICO have been a part of. It's been quite a trip for a high school dropout. I sold the company to our employees because they are the ones that establish that trust with our customers. The other reason is to make sure that our customers maintain that trust in Metro Sales. I know RICO will continue to support us in the years ahead. You know, I'm going to have some trouble figuring out what to do with the money.
I gotta
We
go
will display this award with lots of pride. And I'm going to get a lot more productivity out of these people in the future because they are now partners and the heat's going to go up a little. On behalf of all of us at Metro Sales, thank you for a great partnership and this special recognition. I don't believe I ever got where I'm at, by the way, and it's been fabulous. Also, now that I have sold the company, I can send you back your book. It's been a big challenge for me. That's why I don't have any hair.
He's the best, isn't he? Now, I'm not getting that book back, I know that. But accepting the award for Metro Sales is Dale Johnson. Dale, can you come up?
See if he would have been dancing.
I would have been one.
How about a round of applause for Jerry? And Dan has the actual award to present to Jerry tonight. So Jerry, you might as well come on up. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you all again. So that came, okay.
Imagine traveling with this through airport security. But I have to tell you, that was the opening of our national meeting. It was within the first 5 minutes of opening night. And it's just an honor to be the person to present this award to Jerry Mathwig and to everyone at Metro Sales. Congratulations.
How much does that weigh?
Oh, it's less than 50
Where would you
pounds
like
because I
it, by
checked
the
the
way?
bag.
Wayne, where do you want it, where should we put it? How about you and I and Ron, see if we can figure that out?
I think Frank should.
Okay.
So before you leave, we've got one more award for you.
Oh, okay.
We decided that it wasn't reasonable that we have a Metro Sales Hall of Fame and not have the founder and president in the Metro Sales Hall of Fame. So I'm going to read this. 2019 Employee Hall of Fame, Jerry Mathwig, charter member, president, founder, mentor, generous employer, military veteran, precision jump team.
Okay.
Congratulations on being inducted into the Metro Sales Hall of Fame.
Not bad. Kids in reform school. Some days I think I ought to be proud of that, by the way. I really get mixed up when I think about that. Anyway, thanks again for everyone. That was great contributions you've made. And, you know, but my wife always said, who can give her quote? Come on, you guys, gals.
Raise one.
Yeah.
Give out $500.
Be about
Compliments.
praise like $500 bills. Thank you. We'll give you a bottle. Cut, brother. You look too eager for that. Yeah, thanks again.
$500 bill.
Okay, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You got some hardware here
Oh,
to carry. We'll put this here.